Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is, well, for those of you who are just here, this is Marlon here. And, right now we are going to discuss about the weather. So, first of all, how you guys doing? For me, I just finished dinner, finished my ribs. It was pretty good. And, that I did shower, though. And I did manage to relax, though, just to give myself some breather. And had to go through some things, but other than that, everything seems hunky dory. Though, however, let's just say that I'm pretty busy this weekend, particularly tomorrow. Got a lot of things on my plate. I tried to do as much as possible as I can, and I'll see what'll happen going forward. But all I can say, folks, is that, well, okay, like let me see, that was 4 hours ago. I did start the first half of the stream of tonight, and it only lasted for about almost an hour and a half. With Minecraft, just after 10 minutes of me talking about the current conditions throughout the country. Yet I played Minecraft, and then I got into a little severe weather coverage in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area, which they happen to experience a total of about 6 tornado warnings around the region. And, but I also did the weather topic of the day, which was how do oceans affect weather? And we'll get to that at the end of the stream. But in the meantime, let's just go over what's going on right now. So, there are 17 active weather alerts, 8 flash flood warnings in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, and Canada. There are 6 special marine warnings in Maryland, Georgia, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. Elsewhere. And finally, there are 3 special weather statements in Virginia, Maryland, Florida, and Georgia. Alright, so we don't have much to discuss right now, but let's just play the weather map. That'll play the last 3 hours of what was going on during those times. So let's see what we got in the Northeast. So let's start off in New England, where New England in the past 3 hours they experienced some scattered showers, particularly in Massachusetts, Vermont, and New Hampshire. But they're still experiencing it. But although it's not widespread, though it's only limited to the western half of Massachusetts, though. Some scattered clouds in other parts of Vermont and Connecticut. Though in upstate New York, there were clouds and showers that were present all throughout much of the state, down towards the New York City area, in places like New Jersey, where they experienced some scattered showers, and a few storms in the southern part of the Garden State. Then Long Island, they ended up getting some few clouds. The New York City 5 boroughs area, they experienced some plenty of clouds, a few showers in some areas, especially in western Connecticut, in the immediate New York City area, in the suburbs. Just some clouds and a few showers. Pennsylvania endured a lot of showers and some thunderstorms. But although there weren't enough severe thunderstorms, however, local weather reports would beg to differ on that. Maryland and the Delmarva Peninsula, Northern Virginia, the Washington, D.C. area, and especially northern West Virginia, they experienced a hell of a lot of severe weather. And I did cover 3 hours ago that there were 6 tornado warnings right around the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area. And boy, that was crazy. So crazy that I put up a highlight. And I hope the folks there are okay. I have yet to see the reports myself, but I'm just hoping that there wouldn't be anything worse than what's been going on throughout the past 3 hours. No, 4 hours. So, what's been going on right now? Okay, so we had a stationary front that was present throughout the mid-Atlantic, spread out to sea, and we had a cold front, and then a stationary front that connected to another low down in South Carolina. And in eastern Virginia, there were plenty of some some thunderstorms. Some of them were severe down towards South Carolina and Georgia. It was no fun at all, folks, for those who experienced it, especially in the panhandle of Florida and even some parts of central Florida and eastern South Florida. Things are clear in Mississippi and Alabama, but they endured a heck of a lot of spotty showers and storms in the southern parts of each state, especially Louisiana, where they had a lot of scattered showers and storms, but now they're dissipating right around the Lake Pontchartrain, New Orleans, Baton Rouge area. They're moving out to the east. Tennessee, it's mostly clear right now, as well as, mostly clear. Arkansas, clear. Oklahoma, clear. Mostly clear in Texas. Well, right now, it's just mostly clear. Just a few clouds in the southern tip of Texas. Western part of Texas, clouds and showers are there. And much of the Great Plains, like Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, and even Minnesota, have experienced mostly clear conditions. And North Dakota, they're enduring some thunderstorms that are in the western half of the state right now, in places like Minot and Bismarck. Let's go towards places like the Ohio Valley, where there are showers and storms that are moving from Michigan and Wisconsin since 3 hours ago, passing through places like Chicago, Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and making its way towards Louisville. Places like Columbus and Cleveland, they had their fair shares of thunderstorms and showers. In Detroit as well in the past 3 hours. Madison is currently experiencing some scattered showers and a few storms, but just sort of dissipating, but still present there. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan, it's clear. And now we go to the Northern Rockies, where it's definitely mostly dry, but 3 hours ago there were plenty of scattered showers and storms right around Cheyenne, yet they are moving out towards the south, towards Colorado. And for what it looks like in Colorado, showers and storms are still present there, especially in Denver, Pueblo, and especially in the southern edge of Colorado, but the western half, like Grand Junction's clear. Utah is, most of the state's clear, but the southern edge of the state, scattered showers are still present with a few storms in between. And Nevada, plenty of clear conditions, but just a few pop-up showers and clouds just on the southeastern side of Nevada, but just north of Las Vegas. Now, what about New Mexico? New Mexico, they're still dealing with some scattered showers and storms in some areas. And in the northern half of Arizona, also dealing with some scattered showers and a few storms. And even in the southwest corner of Arizona, too. But elsewhere, it's mostly clear. California, well, they're mostly clear right now. And then you go up the coast towards the Pacific Northwest. Well, right now, Oregon is clear, but just a few pop-up showers in western Washington state. But nothing too gradually severe in terms of the weather. All right, so things are kind of winding down, though. St. Lawrence River Valley is enduring some flash floods. They call it a rainfall warning, just so you know, folks. Okay, so let's change the scene right now to the weather website. Let me just pop this up. Okay, let me see if we got any picture. Yes, we do. Let me refresh the page. But I gotta tell you, folks, I mean, the weather was really wild during the first half of the stream, just so you know. I mean, it's terrifying for those who live in the Washington, D.C. area. Baltimore, Annapolis, northern Virginia, eastern tip of West Virginia, especially in central Maryland. Boy, that was an awful night there. And in some places, they're still dealing with severe weather. Now let's go over with what's going on in the Northeast. So we do have a surface low that's just a few miles to the north of Washington, D.C. And in New England, winds are coming from the south. They're blowing at around 20 miles an hour, but once you go into the interior part of New England, the winds get lighter. The temperature-wise, they're in the 50s and 60s. Upstate New York, same story, but the winds in western New York, they're actually coming from the west, blowing at around 25 miles an hour near Rochester, but winds shift towards the north and loses its speed, especially in the capital region and in the Hudson Valley. From Lake Champlain down towards New York City is where you find lighter winds. The New York City area does have lighter winds in northern New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, and stronger winds just up to 20 miles an hour coming from the Atlantic, moving towards Long Island and Connecticut, especially in the Five Boroughs area. Winds are coming from the south. Temperatures are in the upper 50s to low to mid 60s. Southern New Jersey, the Delmarva Peninsula, they're actually experiencing winds. Let's start off with southern New Jersey, where winds are moving up near Cape May up to 25 miles an hour. But near Trenton, it's lighter. Winds are coming from the south. Temperature-wise, they're in the low to mid 60s there. In eastern Pennsylvania, winds are lighter, but they're coming from the south. Throughout central Pennsylvania, winds are stronger, moving up to 30 miles an hour. Western Pennsylvania, winds are actually moving from the west, but they get stronger as they move towards the central part of the state, shifting towards the south. Temperature-wise, they're in the 50s to low 60s. Delmarva Peninsula, winds are stronger. The southern tip of the Delmarva Peninsula, it is moving around 40 miles an hour. But it gets lighter up north, with winds coming from the southwest, blowing towards the west. In the western side of the Chesapeake Bay, Maryland, it's just converging winds with variable wind speeds, but of no more than 30 miles an hour in some areas. But western Maryland and eastern West Virginia, winds are stronger. They're moving generally from the west at around 30 to 40 miles an hour in a few places. Temperature-wise, throughout the western side of the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland, temperatures are in the mid-50s to low 60s. Same story throughout the Delmarva Peninsula. Western Virginia, winds are also from the west, but blowing up no more than 20 miles an hour. Virginia, winds are also blowing generally from the west, but moving at around up to 40 miles an hour in the northern part of the state. But the southern part of the state, well, it's almost similar, but the southwestern southwestern Virginia, They have winds that are up to 20, but temperature-wise, they in Virginia, the whole state, they range from the mid 50s to upper 60s. Washington D.C. is at 61. West Virginia temperatures are in the mid to upper 50s. Let's go down towards North Carolina, the Carolinas, where winds are generally blowing from the west. They're stronger in the northern tier of North Carolina and the Outer Banks. They're blowing at around 25 to 30 miles an hour. And they shift to the northeast as they move offshore. Temperatures throughout the Carolinas range from the 60s to mid 70s. In Georgia, winds are coming from the northwest. They're shifting towards the northeast, with temperatures in the 60s to mid 70s there. Florida, well, forgot about Georgia's wind speeds, up to 20 miles an hour. Florida, in the Big Bend area, wind speed is around 20 to 30 miles an hour in some areas. In South Florida, winds are lighter, but they're still coming from the west-southwest, shifting towards the northeast. And winds are also calmer in the Panhandle near Tallahassee, moving from the northwest, shifting towards the northeast. Temperature-wise, they're in the 70s to mid-80s there. We got Tennessee. Winds are generally blowing from the west. They're blowing at no more than 20 miles an hour statewide. Temperatures are in the mid 50s to mid 60s there. Alabama, Mississippi, winds are coming from the northwest, shifting towards. No, actually, they're coming from the northwest. Winds are calmer there, no more than 20 miles an hour. Temperature-wise, they're in the 60s to mid 70s. Arkansas, winds are coming from the northwest, shifting towards the south, but becoming light and variable as it moves towards Louisiana. Winds that are the strongest in Arkansas are no more than 20 miles an hour. Louisiana, same story. But in Louisiana, when winds come from the south, they shift towards the east as it exits the Pelican State. Temperature-wise in Arkansas, they're in the 60s to low 70s. Louisiana, 70s. Let's start in Texas. In Texas, you have winds. You do have a surface high that's near the Sunshine State, or otherwise it's in Oklahoma. But in eastern Texas, winds are coming from the north. They're shifting towards the southwest. In southern Texas and western Texas, they shift to the west and then back to the north as it enters New Mexico. The Panhandle of Texas, winds are coming from northeastern Texas, and they're moving back up north. Temperature-wise, in the Panhandle, they're in the 60s to low 70s. Western Texas, temperatures are in the 70s. In the southern portion of Texas, they're in the 70s to low 80s. Eastern and northern Texas, temperatures are in the 70s. Oklahoma, you have, as I said, a surface high pressure there. The winds are becoming very light and variable, but in the western half of the state, winds are blowing towards the north at no more than 20 miles an hour. But temperature-wise, they're in the 60s. And you have in the Ohio Valley, winds are coming from the west. They're blowing at around 25 miles an hour, but in places like northern central Illinois and northern and central Indiana, as well as parts of Ohio, winds are moving at 25 to 30 miles an hour in some areas. But generally, they're coming from the west, especially in Kentucky. But in few areas, in Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, especially near Chicago, winds are light and variable there. Temperatures in Kentucky are in the mid 50s to low 60s there. Hold on just a minute, folks. Alright, I'm back. Okay, so let me see if I have anything in the chat. No, nothing in the chat so far on my end. Okay, so back to business. I already talked about Kentucky. Ohio, the temperatures are in the 50s, low 60s. A similar story in Indiana, temperatures are in the upper 60s to upper 50s to mid 60s. Illinois, northern Illinois, temperatures are in the 60s. The rest of Illinois, temperatures are in the mid 60s to low 70s there. In Michigan, statewide, winds are generally coming from the north. In eastern Upper Peninsula Michigan, and especially in the lower part of Michigan, winds are a little stronger, just up to 20 to 30 miles an hour, a little higher in some areas. But winds, as in the southern part of the lower peninsula of Michigan, winds are shifting towards the east. Statewide, let's start off with the lower peninsula. Temperatures are in the 50s to mid 60s. Upper peninsula, temperatures are in the mid 40s to low 50s. Wisconsin, the northern part of the state, winds are lighter. They're up to 20 miles an hour coming from the north, but in the western and southern parts of Wisconsin, winds are shifting towards the southeast. Temperature-wise, they're in the 50s to upper 60s there. And you have, let's see, Minnesota. Winds are generally coming from the west. Eastern Minnesota, winds are blowing up to 25 miles an hour, but in the northeastern part of Minnesota, winds are coming from the northeast, but shifting towards the southeast. So temperature-wise, in the northern half of Minnesota, temperatures are in the 50s to mid-60s. Lower part, the southern part of Michigan, the temperatures are in the 60s. Iowa, winds are calmer, generally coming from the west, shifting towards the southeast. Winds are stronger, blowing up to 25 to 30 miles an hour in the eastern part of Iowa. Temperature-wise, they're in the 60s. Missouri, winds are moving from the west generally, and they're blowing at around 25 miles per hour in the eastern side of Missouri. Temperatures are in the 60s to low 70s there. Kansas, winds are actually lighter there. They're actually generally blowing from the north, but on the eastern part of Kansas, they're moving towards the east. They're in the 60s, though. In Nebraska, you have the eastern part of the state. Winds are actually in the southern part of the state. They're moving from the south, becoming light and variable as they move towards the northern part of the state. But some of the winds are moving towards the east. Northern and western part of Nebraska, winds are coming from the south, and they're moving just moving south, though. So temperature-wise, they're in the 60s. The Dakotas, so the western half of the Dakotas, winds are coming from the northwest, blowing around 30 miles an hour. In the eastern side, it gets calmer, but they're still moving towards the east. Temperatures are in the 60s to low 70s there. Northern Rockies, winds are mostly light and variable in northern Idaho, western Montana, and Yellowstone. Winds that are the strongest in the southern Idaho, winds are moving towards the east, towards the surface low near Idaho Falls. And Wyoming, well, much of the state, winds coming from Montana are actually blowing towards the southwest, towards Rock Springs. There's a surface low just in the northwestern corner of Colorado. But winds that are the strongest, blowing at around up to 30 miles an hour in a few areas. Eastern side of Montana, temperatures are in the 60s. Bozeman, it's 59. Helena, 68. 70 in Missoula, 66 in Kalispell. Idaho, northern part of the state, temperatures are in the upper 50s to upper 60s. Southern part of the state, temperatures are in the 70s. Wyoming, temperatures are in the upper 50s to low 70s. Let's go to Colorado, where winds are very light, yet there's a surface low on the northwestern corner, as I mentioned. But, however, there are also winds. They're moving towards the west on the western side. Eastern side, winds are blowing up to 20 miles an hour. That's the strongest there. 20 to 25, actually. Moving towards the south, but shifting towards the western part of Kansas, which is where you find the surface low. But, however, otherwise it's just light and variable winds, and particularly in the Rockies. Temperatures. So you got 64 in Denver, 57 in Colorado Springs, 64 in Alamosa, 80 in Grand Junction. Utah, winds are generally blowing from the north. Strongest winds are blowing up to 30 miles an hour in northwestern Utah. But temperature-wise, throughout the northern half of the state, they're in the mid-60s to mid-70s. Elsewhere throughout the state, like St. George at 93. Nevada, winds are very light and variable, but the strongest is in northern Nevada, where winds are blowing at no more than 20 miles an hour. They're coming from the north. But in the southern part of the state, winds are coming from the south, though. Light and variable as they meet. Temperatures throughout the northern part of the state, they are in the 70s to mid-80s there. Las Vegas, 95. Desert Southwest. New Mexico, on the northern side, winds are strongest at 30 miles an hour in some areas, blowing from the south. And winds are very light and variable in some areas. There's a surface low in northern New Mexico. Temperature-wise, in the northern half of the state, throughout the entire state, temperatures are in the 70s to low 80s there. Alpine's at 62, though. Sorry about that. Winds are very light and variable in the northern half of the state, but in the western side, winds are coming from the west, blowing around 20 miles an hour, but the southern part of the state, they come from the Gulf of California, from the southwest, blowing towards northeast. Temperature-wise, in the northern half of the state, they are in temperatures from 62 in Flagstaff to 84 in Kingman. And temperatures in the southern half of the state, they are in the 90s. California, much of the state is pretty much light and variable, but offshore winds are blowing at around 30 to 40 miles an hour, paralleling heading down south. But winds that are moving towards the Bay Area, they are moving around no more than 30 miles an hour, blowing towards the Central Valley. But in Southern California, in the LA Basin, winds are blowing up to 25 miles an hour. The Mojave Desert, winds are blowing towards the north. 66 in San Diego, 91 in Indio, 73 in LA, Bakersfield and Fresno, 97 Bay Area. Temperatures are in the 70s to low 80s there. Sacramento and Chico, 93, 95 in Redding, Eureka, 55. And much of the Pacific Northwest do have light and variable winds, but on the coastal side, winds are blowing from the ocean all the way towards the Cascades, but on the leeward side, winds are blowing from the east towards the Cascades, but there are stronger winds in central Oregon, blowing at around 25 to 30 miles an hour. Temperatures are in the 70s in Oregon. Washington State, temperatures are in range from 64 in Seattle to 82 in Yakima. Let's take a look at gusts to see if there's any. Winds are stronger only because of severe weather that's been happening throughout the past few hours. So we had stronger winds that are located in, let's say, eastern tip of West Virginia, western Maryland, northern Virginia. Their winds have been blowing more than 60 miles an hour, 70 or even 80 miles an hour in some areas, especially down towards southwestern Virginia, down in North Carolina. But yet, generally, the winds have been blowing from the west. There has been some gusty winds in the Windy City, blowing from the northwest at around 40 to 50 miles an hour in a few areas, especially in the western plains, eastern Montana, where winds are from the northwest, blowing around 40 to 50 miles an hour. Desert Southwest, you had winds coming from the Gulf of California, blowing around 50 to 60. Let's take a look at the humidity. Well, there's plenty of humidity throughout much of the country, though it's still dry in the throughout much of the southwest and the leeward side of the Cascades, Great Basin. But it's very humid along the east coast, particularly in the coastal part of the northeast, mid-Atlantic, and as well as West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, all the way down to the Smoky Mountains, and especially northern Florida and southern Georgia, and even in the parts of the Gulf Coast. And now, what about rainfall estimates? So what do we have here for rainfall estimates? So what we had is that we had about 4 to 5 inches of rain throughout the Hudson Valley and the Catskills, stretching up north with up to 4 inches of rain throughout the capital region, and then as well as central New Hampshire, western Connecticut, western Massachusetts, and southern Vermont, down towards the southeastern Pennsylvania, with up to 3 inches of rain that has been accumulated. As an estimate, though only just about an inch of rain has fallen so far, but that could differ based on the actual results during the course of the evening in central Virginia, central Maryland, northern Virginia, and as well as central West Virginia. Plenty of rain around the Big Bend area and the Tampa Bay area, with around 3 inches of rain as an estimate, and even just about 3 inches of rain, of 2 inches in parts of North Dakota, So now let's take a look at what's going on in the upper level winds. Didn't mean to do that, so let me refresh the page right now. Alright, and let me see if we got any. Okay, just want to make sure. So what's been going on was that there's been a trough that's located throughout the Central Appalachian region, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and a big ridge that's over the Great Basin. Just a little trough, a mini trough that's over North Dakota, and those are the reasons why you're getting wet weather throughout the Northeast, East Coast, down south. And you're especially getting that problem in places like North Dakota. Now let's move to 24 hours from now. So in 24 hours from now, there is going to be a trough that's going to remain there in the Northeast, particularly in upstate New York. And a big ridge. It's going to sit there over the northern Rockies. Tiny trough that's going to be in Kansas, and an upper level low that's going to sit there in Baja California. So all that may produce some few showers there in the desert Southwest. There's a trough over British Columbia, which means that there could be a wet weather throughout the Pacific Northwest, as well as the southern plains, but not a gradual severe weather event that's going to occur. But there is going to be plenty of wet weather tomorrow for those in the Northeast, down the East Coast. It's not a good spell, folks. Then we move on towards Sunday night. So by Sunday night, there will still be a trough, but it's going to be over the St. Lawrence River Valley in Canada. And another trough, it's going to be over the southern end of the Appalachian Mountains in the south. And a trough will occur throughout, over the desert southwest in Baja California and the Colorado River Valley. And a trough over Northern California, and especially in British Columbia. This may produce wet weather in the Northern Rockies, Northern California, desert southwest, and still more wet weather throughout the east and the northeast, the east coast, I mean. Now we go towards Monday night. There's still going to be a trough, but it's going to be from what I can see, is Quebec. A ridge, it's going to be over the mid-Mississippi Valley. Upper level low, or trough that could occur throughout and off of the California coast in Southern California. A ridge, it's going to be over central Canada, which means wet weather will still occur throughout the east coast. And some wet weather will occur throughout the desert southwest and the northern plains. And even possibility of some stormy weather in the Great Plains, but we'll see what happens. Now we go back here where there is a severe thunderstorm warning. That is somewhere there. It's there are two of them in the Delmarva Peninsula. We'll focus on the weather discussion, talk about what's going to happen in the next few days. So basically, let's see the models. Take a look at the temperatures starting tomorrow. Okay, so let's see what happens tomorrow, starting right here. Nope. There we go. Okay, so tomorrow morning, there's going to be warm lows throughout South Florida and the coastal, much of the Gulf Coast, California, and parts of the desert Southwest. Chilly temperatures in the Rockies. Mild temperatures will occur throughout the East Coast, rest of the South, Great Plains, leeward side of the Cascades. Oh yeah, chilly temperatures in the northern half of the Great Lakes. Sorry about that, didn't mean to do that. Flash forward to Friday night, where tomorrow night. Tomorrow night there's going to be hot temperatures throughout much of Texas, desert Southwest, California, parts of the Great Basin as well, and there's a tiny bit of cold temperatures in southwestern Colorado, and as well as the Cascades. And let's not forget about plenty of heat in central and eastern Montana. There's going to be plenty of heat throughout the Great Plains. Chilly temperatures in the interior part of New England. And we move on to Sunday morning, where Sunday morning, warm lows in southern Florida, southern Texas, parts of the desert Southwest. Mild temperatures spreading throughout the central part of the country. Chilly lows throughout the interior Northeast, Great Lakes, and the Pacific Northwest. And the Rockies too. Sunday night, plenty of excessive heat to go around throughout Texas, New Mexico, parts of the Great Basin, Central Valley, California, and as well as the Northern Plains. Chilly temperatures in the uplands of New England and upstate New York as well, particularly in the Adirondacks. Then we move towards Monday morning, where there's going to be plenty of very warm lows in South Florida. Mild temperatures throughout the rest of the South, plus the Great Plains. Chilly lows throughout the interior portion of the Northeast. And much of the Northwest still will deal with chilly temperatures, plus the Rockies. And what about on Monday night? So Monday night, there's going to be plenty of heat throughout Texas, parts of the Southern Plains. We'll get to that. Plenty of heat throughout much of California and the desert Southwest. And the reason why I say, it's because there is a sharp contrast between very hot temperatures in the Mississippi Valley versus the Northern Plains, getting chilly temperatures because we do have a cold front, which means that there could be a severe weather event that may occur throughout the Northern Plains. Gotta stay tuned for that. Now let's talk about humidity. There's only humidity throughout parts of the Gulf Coast, Florida, and South Texas. And there's plenty of humidity throughout the Great Plains, Mississippi Valley, the East Coast, Ohio Valley. Quite dry in the parts of the Great Lakes. Plenty of humidity starts building up throughout the West Coast, and as well as parts of the desert Southwest. And we move on to tomorrow night, where tomorrow night, plenty of humidity, excessive humidity throughout much of Florida, much of Texas, especially in the Southern Plains, Mississippi Valley. Okay, hold on just a minute, folks. All right, I'm back. Okay, so there's still gonna be plenty of humidity throughout the West Coast, as well as parts of Maine and the Northern Plains, as well as the Carolinas as well. Dry weather will start. Yeah, there will still be dry weather throughout the Great Basin, and a little bit of dry weather throughout parts of the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Great Lakes for tomorrow night. So what about Sunday morning? So by Sunday morning, there's going to be plenty of humidity throughout Florida, throughout Texas, the rest of the Gulf, well, much of the South, really, and the Northern Plains, and as well as California and parts of the desert Southwest. Dry weather start moving in on Sunday in the Northeast. Then by Sunday night, there's going to be plenty of humidity in Florida, Texas, and parts of the Southern Plains, as well as the Mississippi Valley, and especially the Great Plains region, and Northern California. The desert Southwest will get a lot of humidity, which means monsoon rains would occur, and even parts of the East Coast would deal with plenty of humidity, and parts of the Northern Rockies. Now let's take a look on Monday morning. So by Monday morning, plenty of humidity widespread throughout places like the South, the Central Plains, Mid-Atlantic, but a good amount of humidity throughout the rest of the plains in the Mississippi Valley. A lot of humidity will occur throughout the desert Southwest and parts of the Great Basin. And finally, Greater amount of humidity throughout much of the south, much of the Great Plains and Mississippi Valley. Hold on just a minute, folks. Alright, I'm back. Okay, but there's still a good amount of humidity throughout the desert southwest in California, as well as the East Coast and parts of the Great Lakes region as well. That was supposed to be here, by the way, folks. I don't know why I did that. Now, let's move on to talk about CAPE. So, how much convection are we talking about? Well, folks, there's a lot of CAPE throughout Florida, but a good amount of CAPE throughout Texas and New Mexico, parts of California, and even just a little bit throughout the Northeast and the Appalachian Mountains. What about tomorrow night? So by tomorrow night, just a good amount of CAPE throughout Florida, throughout the central part of the country in general, and the Great Basin, but a good amount of CAPE throughout much of California. Although not as dramatic, though, but there is something that'll cause just enough to cause some strong to severe weather, though, in some areas. And we move on to Sunday morning, where there's going to be some convection throughout Florida, Texas, and even much of the Rockies. So by Sunday night, there is going to be a lot of convection throughout the southern plains, much of Texas, mid-Mississippi Valley, the Rocky Mountains, much of the Great Basin, some parts of the desert southwest, and even much of California, and the rest of the south, and even the northern plains, but the worst parts in the southern plains. Monday morning, some convection throughout much of Florida, and a good amount of convection throughout Texas and the southern plains, and even parts of the Gulf Coast. Finally, Monday night, a lot of convection throughout the Great Plains. Look at this. And there is plenty of convection throughout Texas, throughout Florida, throughout the Carolinas, even in much of the Mississippi Valley, parts of the Great Lakes region. There's a little bit in the Great Basin and parts of the desert southwest. Now let's talk about precipitation throughout the next few days. So what do we got? So we got plenty of wet weather that will occur throughout the Northeast, Florida, Texas, with some showers and storms, especially in the parts of the Dakotas, and even some stray showers along the West Coast, and even parts of the desert Southwest. We move on to tomorrow night. So by tomorrow night, there will still be plenty of wet weather throughout the Northeast, Carolinas, parts of Florida, and as well as the Great Basin. The Great Plains, center part of the country. Parts of Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and even parts of the Great Basin, some scattered showers, and even parts of California, and even parts of the Pacific Northwest. What about Sunday morning? So by Sunday morning, well, we start to see precipitation start leaving, but it will still occur throughout the interior and northern parts of New England, parts of Florida, even parts of the southern plains as well, parts of the Gulf, parts of the desert Southwest, and even parts of California, and even parts of the Bitterroot Mountains and the leeward side of the Cascades, and parts of the Great Basin. By Sunday night, more wet weather, but will occur throughout northern New England, parts of Florida, Gulf Coast, Texas, Rocky Mountains, Great Basin, desert Southwest will get a lot of wet weather, parts of California. Let's talk about Monday morning. So by Monday morning, there's going to be some wet weather that will occur throughout the coastal part of and northern part of New England, particularly in Maine, Boston, and even the parts of the Mid-Atlantic. We'll get some wet weather, some storms. Florida, Texas, the western part of the Gulf Coast. Desert Southwest, we get a lot of wet weather and some storms, especially in the northern Rockies. And some stray showers around California and Oregon. Finally, by Monday night, just some stray offshore showers off the northeast coast. Plenty of storms in Florida. Stray showers and storms in the western Gulf. Southern Plains, the Great Plains will endure some storms for sure. And even western Texas. The Great Basin, the Rocky Mountains will get plenty of wet weather. Just a little bit of snow in a few areas. And some stray showers in the Pacific Northwest and the Sierra Nevadas. And even along the California coast. And parts of the Desert Southwest also. Now let's take a look at what's going to happen with the amount of snow, if there is any. Well, just a little bit in Colorado, but it's nothing gradual, though. It's only up to 2 inches of snow wherever there is snow, but in just near Denver, it's nearly 6 inches, even though it's not, but still. Snowfall accumulation could vary. All right, now what about the weather topic of the day? Well, I already covered the weather topic of the day, and the weather topic of the day that I covered was how do oceans affect the weather. So what happens is that when you have, let's say, well, oceans, they tend to store solar radiation. They distribute the heat and moisture all over the world and drives weather systems. And they also serve a big role in the water cycle through the processes of evaporation and transpiration. But I'm not going to create a clip for that. I mean, I've already covered that, but it's all more along the lines of a simple version of what it's like, right? But yeah, folks, I mean, I only got about 8 minutes of me streaming, but I suppose that I can... I don't know. I mean, you can ask me, guys, something. You can ask me like, how did I become a meteorologist in the first place? Like, am I real? Am I a degreed meteorologist? All that. Well, folks, here's the truth. I am a degreed meteorologist. Stony Brook University. 3 years ago, I graduated. I'm the real deal. You know, some people think, oh, you're just getting the degree. Why can't you just apply for a more professional type of setting? Truth is, folks, I did for the past 3 years, and guess what? Still haven't gotten any. I'm still stuck with some straight job that I'm not going to even mention or say that I'm too proud of that. If I get a weather gig, then I'd be happy. But if I end up on TV, then I'd be the luckiest guy ever. Well, not really, though. But, I mean, just lucky enough to be tasting a dream of mine, my childhood dream, even though I want to become a broadcast meteorologist. But here's the truth. When I was really young, I really wanted to be on the Weather Channel, because the Weather Channel is king. And to me, it still is. But even though things have changed with the Weather Channel, but the Weather Channel will always be my favorite. And I look up to the Weather Channel, even though I'm not as actively as passionate as before I was a kid, all because I had to study and having to go through a bunch of obstacles throughout my life. But let's just say that once I'm here, I can spell out whatever's on my mind. But whenever I'm talking to you guys, it just makes it feel like as though that it's more interactive, more flexible, the way I would present the weather to you guys while gaming at the same time. Now, I know this may not sound like me being a professional meteorologist, but you know, at least this meteorologist knows how to game enough. But at least I'm not saying that I'm the best gamer there is in the world. I'm not bragging about that. All I'm saying, folks, is that as much as I love to game, but more importantly, I love to talk about weather. Alright? This is my confession for the next, I don't know, about a couple minutes. But right now, as I was rambling, there are 2 tornado warnings, and let's talk about that in the next 5 minutes. So let's get to it. Let's go zoom in, everybody. Hold on to your safety nets. We're about to endure a very hectic ride. And what am I talking about? Here it comes. Da, 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 da. Hey, where's the tornado? The tornado? Now, do you guys see a tornado? I see one. Right around Middletown, Delaware. Chesapeake City, Maryland. Well, it looks like it's crossing the Maryland-Delaware state line from what it looks like. There are actually 2 tornado warnings, but the reason why there are 2 of them, it's because, well, although this may be biased to me, but it has to do with the way states do business, meaning that, like, Maryland would just say, oh, offer tornado warnings for those who only live in Maryland, and Delaware would say the same thing, but like I said, this is just me being biased. This is just me assuming, me guessing, but in reality, sometimes it's just that depending on where people live and where the location is, sometimes they issue warnings that shape like this. But regardless, there is a tornado in near Chesapeake City and Middleton, Delaware. And now let's see the radar reflectivity. Let me play that animation for you guys just to see what we're dealing with right now. Eye on things. Yeah, I think there is a bit of a hook echo. Yeah, it kind of looks like as though it's just spinning and spinning. And it's moving in that direction, folks. Right in the direction of the outskirts of Philadelphia. It's approaching Wilmington, Delaware. Newark is in the bullseye, Bear, Delaware. Yet the tornado is actually crossing the state line. And those who are in the area, I would exercise caution if I were you. Stay sheltered in your own home, but it has to be in a basement or storm cellar. But if those aren't available, stay in an interior closet, a room that has no windows in it. But exterior rooms are really, really bad places for you to be in, because that's where the debris and projectiles would start piercing through the outside walls, and then somebody gets hurt, or worse. No, really, they do. And if you're outside, if you're not home, take shelter in a ditch and cover your head. But never take shelter in an overpass, because what happens is that under an overpass, the winds, they get sucked into the underpass and they blow its wind so fast that's like a vacuum. And then people get either sucked in or sucked out. And that's the last thing people should ever do. And what I mean is, no one should ever do that, because they're going to get themselves killed. And believe me, folks, believe me, I've seen videos of that when I was a kid, back in the 90s, early 2000s, on Storm Stories with Jim Cantori. And believe me, those places are the worst to take shelter in. Even if you're just taking shelter during a hailstorm or during a severe thunderstorm warning. Believe me, folks, it's really, really dangerous. It'll clog up traffic. You're actually doing more harm than good, not only to them, but to yourselves as well. People will get stuck in the highways. They're going to get hit with a tornado if that tornado does get through the highway. It's really dangerous. In fact, there are 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that are in both Maryland and Delaware. And there is a flash flood warning. Only in Delaware, though, but still, it's dangerous. Look at that. This is, I don't know if I call this biased, but to me, let's just say that it is best to take cover and ignore those biases during the severe weather. You can deal with determining whether this is biased or not once the storm is over. But safety is always number one. All right. Now, I do want to check the New York City area. They're going to get hit. And what does that mean? Yeah, you're going to get plenty of storms that are going to roll in towards places like Philly, New York, in the matter of a couple of minutes. But don't worry, I'm ending the stream, but the weather will be bad. But if it were to happen like a few hours ago, like right around the time around 7 p.m. rush hour, then it would be a lot worse, folks. And you're seeing the animation move? Yeah, you're seeing it right now. It's moving towards the New York City area, the outskirts. It's no fun. It's no fun. I mean, the one thing I could say is that I want everyone to be safe out there and hope for the best, survive the worst. And, oh, tomorrow I will be streaming for you guys from 6 to 8 p.m. local Eastern Daylight Time. And I will stream you guys Kingdom Hearts 2. We will continue with that game and also do our national weather discussion too. Alright? But in the meantime, please hit me with a follow, turn on the notifications, just so that you guys know when I'll be streaming the next time. In case if anything happens, if I'm late, if I stream early or something, or just catch you guys out of the blue. I mean, I try my best to not to surprise you guys with surprise streams, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes I let it happen. And that's on me. I let this happen. And I would deeply apologize for that, folks. Even apologize in advance if you guys feel surprised. Anyway, I gotta get going, and not only that, but I gotta go to bed. Alright, hold on. Alright. Now, take care, you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Stay safe out there. Love you all. Peace out, everybody. Signing out, and see you tomorrow.